Hello guys, in this tutorial we are going to see how to connect our Android application to a MySQL database. We can connect our Android application with the database directly using JDBC, but it is not a very good practice to do so because of the security issues and efficiency. So what we will do is we will create an PHP interface to interact with the database. So I'm assuming that you have installed WAMP if you are on Windows and LAMP if you are on Linux for PHP, MySQL, and Apache, and Android Studio for the Android application. So let's look at the PHP code. So we have three PHP files: login.php, signup.php, and connection.php. Connection.php establishes the connection to the database, and login.php gets the username and password as the get parameter, and gets the password for the current user and checks it with the received password and echoes valid if it is true and echoes not valid if it is not matched. Signup.php gets the username and password as the get parameter and inserts it into the table and echoes valid if no error is found. So let's see how the database is structured. So open up your browser, go to phpMyAdmin. For this demo, I'm using the test database. So I have one table here, login, and I have two columns, username and password. I have an entry test for username and test for password. Let's check that out with login. So it's localhost/login.php, and we get username and password by the get method. So username equals test and password equal test. So it's valid. So let's try giving a wrong password. So it gives not valid. And the same thing for signup.php. If we give signup.php and give a completely different username, ABC, so ABC and test, so it's valid. And if we refresh this, you can see that ABC was created here. So what we are going to do is try to emulate the same thing from our Android application. Let's create a new Android project. So I'm naming it Android DB, and next. So this is our main activity. So first let's create our UI first. Go to layouts, activity main, and to the design part. Let's have two edit text. So let's change its properties. The username, username, let's have two buttons, for one for login and one for sign up. Let's change its properties. So let's go to the main activity and create objects for all of the UI elements. So let's map the objects to the UI element using find view by ID. Username equals. So now that we have created the objects for the UI elements and mapped it to the UI elements, let's create on-click listeners for the two buttons. So login. To test if it's working, let's create a toast. Toast.make text. Copy, paste it, and change the text. So let's run the application. So our emulator has started up, and let's check out. Logging is working and sign up is working just fine. We need to connect the server to the mobile. So what we should do is we should be on the same network. So basically what that means is you should be connected to the same Wi-Fi router, or you can just put hotspot on your mobile and connect your laptop or your system to the hotspot. If config on Linux gives you the network configuration, and if you're on Windows, just type ipconfig. So it will be like ipconfig on your command prompt. So if config gives me that my IP is 192.168.42.100. So let's go to my mobile and open my browser up and type the IP there. So if you have your WAMP server running, you should get this page. Okay, now we are on the same network. So let's get back to Android code. Now we have to give get request to the URL 192.168.42.100 slash login.php for login and slash signup.php to sign up, right? So in Android, we do this by creating an async class, which is basically a thread. If you're new to thread, consider it as something that runs on the background. So let's create an asynchronous class first. So public class login task extends async task. So we should give it some parameters, string. So it shows up an error. The login task must be declared abstract or implement the abstract methods do in background. So to implement the do in background method, right click and click on generate. Override methods, execute, post execute, and do in background. And let's create object for the login task. So login task o.execute, and we give it the parameters. We give the username and password from the edit text. So username dot get text dot toString, comma, password dot get text dot to string. So that execute methods call the doIn background method and we get those parameters from here. So let's store that parameter. So string username equal params of 0, string password params of 1. So now we have the password and username. What we are going to try is to emulate this string right here, but yeah. So instead of localhost, we have to give the IP here. So 192.168.42.100. That was my IP. You should replace that with your IP. So let's first create a try block and catch exception e dot print stack trace. First, we have to encode this in a URL format. String data equals URL encoder dot encode username. Then we'll give it the format, that's UTF-8 and plus, that's equal to right here. So it gives username, then equals, then we have to encode the variable as well. So copy, paste, then we'll give this and here. So and so this data should generate this string. Now let's create a URL connection. So URL this right here, copy, paste. Since this is login, we'll change it to login and then we'll append the data to it. Data. So we'll create a URL connection object. And one connection, and since we are getting output from this connection, so we'll enable the output. So set do output equal to true, and we'll read the output from the URL. So we'll create a buffered reader, reader read equal to new buffered reader con dot we'll create a string builder to read the string from the buffered reader. So string and we'll create a string line equals null. So while line equals con read dot read line not equal to null, s dot append line. So it's reading each line from the output and appending it to the string builder. And then let's convert the string builder to a string. String result equals s dot toString, and let's return result. So what we return from this doing background goes to the post execute that comes as the parameter input parameter. So let's toast it. Toast dot make text get base context long dot show. So one important thing we missed to do is, since we are connecting to a server, we need to add the permission to use the internet in the manifest file. So let's go to the manifest file and add users permission and give internet here and close the users permission. So let's run the application now. Username is test. Let's give login. So it's valid. So let's give a wrong use password. It should show not valid. There you go. There you go. It's working. So let's do the same for sign up as well. So we'll copy this login task and paste it again and change the login task to sign up task. And we'll change this login to sign up. That pretty much we have to do. So that should work, and we have to create the object in the sign up as well. So we'll comment this toast out. We don't need them anymore. So we'll create sign up task O equals new sign up task, and we'll copy this execute from the login and paste it here, and we'll run the application. So let's give a username E and let's give a password E. Let's give login. It is showing us not valid. So let's sign up this. It's showing us valid. Then let's log in again. So it's valid. So we have successfully created a new user called E. So we'll check the database out. There you go. The new user is created. That's it, guys. Click over here to watch my last video. And I'll be doing a lot of videos. So like, subscribe, and stay tuned. Bye.